All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Whistle Talk. This is Mike D, the referee, getting you ready for part two of Rule One with myself and Daniel Chamberlain. Had to break up the episode into two episodes just because of the length of time. So after this little short pause from my new venture, we'll begin into part two of Rule Number One.
Experiencing the world's most thrilling sports events firsthand? Welcome to Dro Destinations, your ultimate partner for unforgettable sports travel experiences. From the excitement of the Super Bowl to the global spectacle of the World Cup, we offer exclusive access to major sporting events worldwide. Cheer on your favorite teams in college sports or experience the electric atmosphere of the English Premier League. For golf enthusiasts, explore our curated golf packages at top courses around the world. Whether it's a corporate outing or a fan experience at an iconic stadium, our team ensures seamless logistics and unforgettable memories. And for young athletes, let Dro Destinations create unforgettable youth team experiences, so you can focus on the games instead of the travel. Plan your dream event today with Dro Destinations and make your sports travel bucket list a reality. Email Mike D at dbrodestinations@gmail.com.
All right, and with that, here we go with part number two with Daniel Chamberlain.
All right, so the kicking tee, not needed, not mandatory. This is we've both seen it, and we've seen it on the extra points where teams are kicking the ball off the ground. Your better field goal kickers are going to kick the ball off the ground because that's what they're doing at the higher levels. But it is allowed that you can use a kicking tee that is up to 2 inches high. I've seen kickoffs from the ground where they are kicking some type of spinner ball. So again, up to 2 inches.
Helicopter.
Yeah, we got some good ones out there. Down indicator, got to have some type of line to gain and down indicator. And one great one that I've been seeing a lot of lately is the electronic down indicator, which, ladies and gentlemen, at the high school level sucks because they typically don't work, where the battery dies in the middle of the game. And all of a sudden you've got a guy out there, oh, it's first down. They got one finger up. So it's interesting.
We've dealt with the electronic time, like all the sideline stuff, but it's generally like, man, they take a hit in the middle of a game and then they're gone, right? Or it rains. Talk about a rain game, and now your down and distance or your down marker doesn't work. So
yeah, unless you're playing the game at the Jerry Dome and you got all the domes and everything like that, and you got the climate control, the electronic stuff typically doesn't work too good. Or you've got an endless supply that when the battery dies because it's negative 10 degrees outside, that you're going to have another one sitting there.
Yeah.
Now, this next part is going to be for our varsity games. You should have a scoreboard with a game clock. And here in New Jersey, that game clock is operated by an official, where I know a lot of areas, sometimes they will have school attendees that are going to work the game clock. Here in New Jersey, we have a clock operator. An ECO is what we refer to them as. If that clock is not functioning, then it would be held on the field. And again, here in New Jersey, we do still have somebody who keeps time on the field. One of our deep officials is in charge of keeping a game clock on the field to make sure that it is married up with what is going on up in the booth. Just because something happens, we can get that back.
See, in Oklahoma, that's what we call home field advantage. Like, they're driving, you need to win. Maybe the clock runs a little fast, Like maybe it doesn't stop so quickly on that incomplete pass. So,
yep,
a little home cooking.
Oh, yeah. And that's the one thing that we are trying to prevent. But I could tell you that we've had guys here in New Jersey who are getting in conversations with people, and all of a sudden they forgot that we're down there saying kill the clock and the clock's running. But our guy there, now skipping down to the bottom, we have our O2O system. So we do have the ability to walkie-talkie each other. It is approved here for New Jersey officials. To my knowledge, I don't know of any of the states that aren't approved anymore with using the walkie-talkie systems. And we are hooked up to our ECO up in the press box. So if we do have a clock malfunction, we can easily radio up to them and say, hey, can you put 7:23 back on the clock? So again, kind of basic stuff here, but stuff that take for granted unless we know about it. All right, so players' equipment, coaches' equipment, and here's our statement that we have for the game. Coach, do you certify that all your players are legally and properly equipped? And every coach's answer is yes. So now that when we have the knee pads coming up to their thighs and stuff like that, well, coach, you lied to us. But again, that's a whole nother episode that we could talk about.
We dealt with, so that's a good statement, and I wish pregame, when you see all the kids out there warming up, you were checking. You said your authority starts 30 minutes before the game. We dealt with something a couple of years ago where we warmed up and our kids had wristbands on their arms, all, because that's the new cool thing to do. I mean, they're
Yes.
probably on their calves and their foreheads and their necks and everything else, right? But they got sweatbands. We went through all of warm up like that. The coach was asked the question. He gave, yes, my guys are. We went out for an opening kickoff. We were the kicking team, and we take the field. They blow the whistle and kick like 7 of our guys off the field. And we have to replace now the majority of our starting kickoff team because you can't have a sweatband all the way up your arm. So that was bothersome to me that, yes, you asked the question, but now that your authority started, why aren't you correcting that pregame? The other team had the same thing, but I guess they had made theirs with stretchy tape, so it would tear off. So it was deemed a safety issue. So, Mike, I don't know, man. That seems like a question that you would immediately start policing once you get an answer 30 minutes before the game.
So, as I, being an umpire and the head referee, are meeting with the head coaches pregame, the rest of our crew is walking around. They're walking and checking the field markings, and then they're walking and they're checking on the players. And we're letting the kids know, hey, 23, make sure game time comes, you pull those knee pads down because, excuse me, you got a lot of kids that go out there in their pregame attire, such as they're still wearing the blackout face shields, but they're wearing it just for pregame. So as a crew, that is something that we are doing pregame and telling the kids, hey, when you come back out here for kickoff, that needs to be remedied. So we are giving them the heads up, and we'll go through. As an umpire, I'm sitting there and I'm taking notes. I'm like, all right, 1, 27, 33. Right now, they're not legally equipped. So now we'll say to coach, hey, coach, listen, these kids need to make sure that this stuff is fixed before they come back out for the game. We also have some teams that come out in wool caps instead of their helmets. So the pregame stuff, we're going to give them the heads up for. And in your scenario, they should have been given a heads up. I don't like that they did that. That's a that's a crew that's trying to flex their authority. To be honest, to give my opinion on it. Let's be there to spot the ball and wind the clock, not to police and throw kids out of a game for something minor like that.
For sure.
Excuse me. But yes, it is a safety issue, and yes, I have seen a finger kind of get mangled in those rubber bracelets. So it can be pretty gnarly. All right, so now we're moving on here. We got our player designations, and this one is one of my favorite here. Is the teams shall designate a field captain, and that field captain is there for pictures in the beginning of the game, to be out there with the referee, to do a commemorative coin toss that we already know the answer to because we've asked the coaches, if you win the toss, what do you want anyway? So each team needs to have a field captain. What we do with these field captains is we have a talk with them saying, hey, listen, 12, you're a captain. If 86 is getting out of line, I'm coming to you and saying, hey, 12, take care of your teammate before we have to hit him with a penalty. That's what our main thing is. Because pregame, I'm getting, coach, if you win the toss, what do you want? And we know that because the kids go out there and they forget, they get stage fright, whatever it may be, or my coach didn't tell me.
It's pretty nice of you to do that because I've seen some goofy stuff that kids say.
Yes, absolutely. And the kids don't know, and we'll give them the choices. And so recently this year, we still had a team that kicked off to start the game and to start halftime because the kids said, we want to kick. And our official said, no, you want to defer. No, we want to kick. No, you want to defer. No, we want to kick. And the official let him go with it. And we're like, no, don't let the kid make that mistake. You know what he meant. He does not want to kick 2 times. So that's why we're kind of get it previously done. So designated by the offensive position at the snap. So now when we're talking about our player designations, okay, you've got your number requirements and a regular offensive snap. You got to have your 50 through 80 or 79 numbers. You need to have 5 of them on the field. And then the other people that are in an eligible position with an eligible number, 1 through 49, 80 through 99. So yes, 99 is a legal eligible number. 00 is not a legal number, and it says here when you got a single digit, it can't be 03, it can't be 07, it just got to be number 3. I don't know that that truly makes a difference, but that's what the requirement states.
So I guess if you
But
were trying to get both on the field, right? If you had 0 and 00, then that would be a concern.
yes, yep, and we do see teams, and I know collegiately you do have teams out there that have two number 17s. One's a wide receiver, one's a cornerback. So, but you can't have two 17s on the field at the same time.
So I do have a question as a coach here. This says the snapper is in the middle, not the center, but we run tackle over, we run guard tackle over. We'll let an H back come up and snap it from the edge, who's wearing a legal number. So snapper here is really just the center, right? I don't have to snap it from the middle man and my 5 offensive linemen.
That's correct. Yep, and they're calling it the snapper just for the diagram purposes because they've got the football right there. So that's just the person that's going to do that initial snap.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yep. So yeah, the old swinging gate type of plays, they are still out there. They are still legal. But if it's an offensive play, it can be a legal number that is snapping the ball that can go out and get a catch downfield. But you need to have 5 players out there that still hit the number requirement, even if they're not. They could be split out as wide receivers, but they got to be on the line of scrimmage and in those areas. All right. Legal equipment, Dan. You got this one?
For sure, man. Helmet and face mask with 4-point chin strap. And I don't know, what does the Aaron Rodgers guy do now when he just had, Aaron Rodgers always wore 2. I know it's NFL, we're talking NFHS, but kickers used to only have 2 as well, right? That's kind of just a throwback.
Yeah, and the single bar.
Yeah, let's go. Tooth and mouth protector. I know that for this one specifically, they put in a rule this year that was 1 mouthpiece, right? You can't have one that's in your mouth and one that's on your face mask, like so popular in college.
Yep.
Shoulder pads, jersey, hip pads, and tailbone protector. Thigh guards, knee pads. I'm still not sure what those things actually do, but they've got to be there. And then pants and shoes. You have to wear shoes.
No more of the time of the barefoot kicker.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Who was the guy in Buffalo, barefoot kicking up in Buffalo, kicking 47-yard field goals?
Yeah, it's too cold.
Not for me. All right,
our helmet and face mask continued here. Yeah, see, that's like the best face mask in football. Let's be honest, right there. NOC SAE standard face mask covered with resilient material to prevent chipping or abrasions, etc. Face mask properly secured to helmet. 4 attachment points on chin strap. All must be buckled. It's okay if it comes off during the normal action of a play, but you need to rebuckle it. Question I have here: we talk about these face mask covered with resilient material. So if I am at very poor school and that material has chipped off, is that helmet and face mask deemed unplayable since it's down to bare metal?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, I like it.
Back in the day, that used to be our badge of honor. As an offensive lineman, we didn't want the top of the helmet scuffed up. We wanted our face masks all chewed up and be gnarly by the end of the year. They're made a lot different, that they're not chipping away as easily as they used to do. But it's a violent sport. It's a collision sport. So if it happens, I'm not going to tell a kid again he can't play. Same thing for the pads. When I know I say it repeatedly, but if the kid's 6'7" and he's wearing a size large pants because that's what fits his waist, but large does not come all the way down to the knees. As long as he's making an effort to keep his knee pads down, he's playing football. But when that knee pad starts to get rolled up like the kids are doing, or cut, and all of a sudden you've got this little 1-inch knee pad, well, that doesn't fly.
That's a good designator too, because we do have those kids that are just, we don't have pants for every shape of human, right? Like sometimes you get that freak of nature. So that's good.
All right. So the jerseys must be unaltered from manufacturer's original design. So no more days of the Brian Bosworth with the tape cut and everything sliced up. They gotta be long enough to reach the top of your pants. If longer, they got to be tucked in. Must cover your torso. So the back plate has to be covered to make that one a little bit easier. Your shoulder pads need to be covered. So things like that, where you'll see the practice pants and they've got just the flopping around of the shoulder pads because they got them tucked under. We don't even really like that for scrimmages because, again, I have seen people get cut up from those shoulder pads because they are pretty sharp at times. Your jersey requirements, the home team is required by the referee to change if they are not wearing the proper uniform. So home needs to be dark, away needs to be white. So the visiting team is responsible for the contrasting color. Um, I've seen it in the JV game where it was supposed to be a home game for one team. It got switched to another site, and now all of a sudden both teams were there in white uniforms. I'm like, well, this is going to be fun. And talked to the coach. I'm like, Coach, we're going to play football today, but you guys are supposed to be in dark. Okay, thank you. And then we went from there. And yes, there were a lot of interceptions that game. And this one is part of our newer rule in the last couple of years, but the numbers must be clearly visible. And you'll see here's the change, rule change for 2024. Okay, got to be in effect. The entire number shall be a single solid color. Borders are still okay. The body of the number must be clearly contrasting to the uniform jersey. We got to be able to see the number because, Daniel, when your kid gets called for holding, what is the first thing that the coaches are asking the officials?
What number was it?
Yep. And we do our best to try to get you that number as correctly as possible, but sometimes we can't see it. But if your jerseys are camo jerseys with a camo number, we'll be like, Coach, it was your right guard, maybe. And
the all blackout jersey with the blackout number and the white outline was a ridiculous time in high school football. So I'm kind of glad that's gone.
yeah, but they did look cool.
I mean, I get you a little bit, but it's impossible to break down film.
Yes. Oh, God, yeah. And here again is just some more examples of what the jersey needs to look like. And this was put into effect in 2024, where on my last episode, I talked about some of the rules that are going to be coming into effect in 2026 and 2027, including mouth guards and stuff like that. So the NFHS does do a good job in putting this stuff out with enough time that the schools know, okay, when we're ordering new jerseys, they now have to hit this requirement. So
Yeah.
if it's an older school and they're still wearing their older jerseys, we're typically not going to bust their chops. But I now put a lot more onus on those vendors when people are ordering new jerseys and they come out and are like, what did you guys do? Well, the vendor collected money is what they did, and they're going to collect more money next year because they're going to have to get new uniforms. All right, same thing here. These types of numbers are now illegal in the setups here. So you can see the multicolored here on the 3-6. The 84 kind of matches. The 25 definitely matches. This one, I don't know that I really have a problem with that one so much, but NFHS is ruling that one to be not truly contrasting enough. So
Yeah, because if it was all black or all white, it would be fine. It seems like because it contrasts.
yeah,
But if it's half and half, then it's not. That's I get you. But rules are rules on sometimes, unfortunately.
yep. And again, we got some more examples, so let's go on to there. All right, so our pads, protective equipment. So Daniel, you went through the list of them. This just, again, I'm not going to spend much time. They must be unaltered by the manufacturer's original design. We're not going to list them all again. We've talked about these at nausea. The mouth guard needs to be attached, and it could be any color. And in a couple of years, they are going to be banning those little spinners and the baby bib type thing. So that's one of those future rules that's coming out.
Oh man, they've gotten a little out of control.
Yeah. Auxiliary equipment that is allowed: your gloves, your tape, your bandages for injuries. Towels can be a solid color, but it cannot be the same color as a flag. So you cannot have a yellow flag hanging from your uniform, or it cannot be the same color as the ball. Again, talking about those option teams. The new rule: it doesn't matter if Daniel's got a pink towel on because of he's looking to make a statement, and I've got a red towel on because, well, that's the one that I had at home. It no longer has to be uniform in that aspect. So it used to be that it was all one color for the whole team. Your wristbands only on the wrist, extend no more than a third down the elbow. I'm going to tell you, we're not really busting chops on this one. Where this one is going to come into play is your play cards. Your play cards have to be on your wrist. Okay. And you were mentioning it, I think earlier, the play cards on the belt can't be on the belt. They got to be on the guy's forearms. So if you don't have big enough forearms, start going out there and doing some wrist curls, build up those forearms, get those things a little bit bigger. But they cannot be on the belts.
I think it's good that that's listed like no biceps, legs, forearms, etc. Because the having it on your neck became a big thing a couple of years ago, right? You just bring a sweatband down over your neck. I don't know if it was up there or not, Mike, but we saw it down here. Man, that just seems like a really bad way to get tackled to me.
We also still have, and it wasn't a rule. Excuse me. Do you have kids that are wearing hoodies underneath their uniform?
Yeah.
And keeping those hoodies out. I mean, I'm tucking them in. I'm putting those things back in, but you see them more often late in the game with the JV kid that didn't expect to get into the game, and they're on the sideline with their hoodie up, and all of a sudden the coach is yelling for them to get out there, and now their hoodie is out. But yeah, those hoodies got to be tucked away. You can't have anything hanging out. And also, same thing with your headbands, your bandanas, and things like that. They technically aren't supposed to be hanging out of the back of the helmet for a number of different reasons. The NFHS is going to tell you safety, but there's a number of different reasons that we're not going to dive into today. But we want to make sure that the kids are safe. So some illegal equipment, if you have a cast on, you are still allowed to play football. You just got to make sure that it is covered. Again, that typically falls on the umpire to go and check that. That's part of our pregame. Coach, you have everybody legally equipped. You got anybody with any braces, casts, or anything that we need to look over? It's illegal to wear your pants above your knee. The eye shields, again, they can be clear without any presence of tint. So no longer are you allowed to have the tint, the blacked out visor, or anything like that. Jewelry, medical is allowed, but it must be taped, and that may be visible because obviously if there is a medical emergency, we don't want to have to go searching for any type of medical bracelet. If it's a religious type of bracelet or necklace, it can be worn, but it needs to be under the uniform and it cannot be exposed. So they recommend taping it down to the jersey, to the inside of the jersey, shoulder pads, whatever it may be. We don't want to see Deion Sanders walking out. Use him just because he's still in the limelight. And like we said, the play cards cannot be on the belt.
Is it, excuse me, is it a state adoption or adaptation here that you can get a medical clearance to wear a tinted visor? Is that like an older ruling that's been done away with?
Yep. That's exactly what it is. So yeah, there is the only, I know at the youth level, and I want to correct myself. Only at the youth level, it is 100% illegal. At the upper levels, they are allowed to have tinted glasses. So if it's a medical reason for their eyes and the kid has rec specs on, they can be tinted, but the visor itself must still be clear. So, officials timeout. Handling improper equipment. Again, this is something we don't want to do. With our O to O, I'm typically not going to stop a play for a kid that's got a wristband on his belt. I'm going to tell the kid and get an O to O to the sideline saying, "Hey, 27's got to come out next play. He's got it on his belt." And we'll go from there. But if it's something egregious, we will have an officials timeout. And if we have to send a player off for a play to get it fixed, we're going to do that. But I mean, I've helped kids buckle their chin straps, so that's going to be an official's timeout, different things like that. Shoulder pads coming out, things like that, we're going to stop the clock for and make sure that everything is good to go before we replay it.
For sure.
All right, Daniel, I'll let you jump on this one as the coach.
Yep.
Your coach's
field equipment for us, the coaches. Electronic communication devices can be used by coaches and non-players. Non-players include players that are on the sideline, which is good to know because I've seen a lot of coaches use like the backup quarterback for signaling, and he gets a headset. New for 2025, communication devices can now be used to communicate with players, 1 of 11 on the field, non-audio and still images only, so a soccer signboard. So this one's new to me. I didn't even know. So essentially, the old soccer substitution electronic board is now legal. I didn't know it was illegal. I'm pretty sure people have used it for years very sparingly because, yes, I'm passing off a sign to my players, but I'm also giving it to the other team, which will make it very easy to spot in film. No video to players on field except during a conference outside the 9 yards mark. So timeouts, etc. And what we're talking about there is we all have playback now, right? We have instant replay on the sidelines, sideline replay, whatever you want to call it. You can't use that like during the traditional play clock, right? The time has to be called.
Yep.
And then replay equipment not allowed by officials. Coaches can't show, which stinks. Hey, look, I have it right here, right? You can see right here what happened, but we get it, right? It's got to be, it's the fairness of you just got to kind of trust the guy on the field.
Yep. And so I want to touch back on the new one for 2025. I did this in my last episode. Got to emphasize this again. They are not allowing any player to be headphoned, mic'd up, or any type of thing. So it must be some type of signboards and things like that. In New Jersey, we did actually have a number of teams that were using electronic score boards with different colors to correlate with wristbands, and then it was ruled that that was illegal. So there were ones that gymnastics, they have the old school flip scorecard. That was legal. That was okay to be used. But the electronic one wasn't. So now they're saying that all that stuff is allowed. I guess Oregon probably made this all really popular back in the day when Chip Kelly was running it up there and they were holding up all the signs and stuff like that. But now they're allowing it, but there still is no verbal communication between coach and player on the field through any electronic devices.
I do have a question here about no video to players on the field. So just the on the field is the big part there, right? Because like if you have two platoon or even if you're just subbing a guy out to come over and show him what he screwed up on, that's okay. He's not one of the 11 that's checked into the game to play football, right?
Correct. So as long as it's happening on the sideline, that's good. But now to clarify that, Daniel can't come out to me on the sideline. I show him the play, and then he goes back in for that next play. So he's got to be subbed out in order to get a look at that. So, Daniel, we have come to the end of rule number 1.
Rule 1 is in the books.
Literally. The books. Yeah. Any questions that you have?
No, it seems very, very easy. I know if you get the rule book and try to read through and see all this, it is much more complicated, and it's that government jargon, right, where we can't ever be deemed wrong in a rule of or in a courtroom or whatever they're needing. The government does this with everything. Being a military guy, I understand that any rules in the military are hard to read or in the government. So, Mike, I appreciate you borrowing these slideshows and putting it out there for coaches. I appreciate letting me be a part of this because there are ways that we see it different, right? And we probably shouldn't, but we learn by word of mouth and you learn by going and studying the rule book, and we have to try to meet those in the middle somewhere. And unfortunately the rule book wins. So the word of mouth for coaches no longer, especially not in 2025, right? Where I will say the fact I have to pay for a rule book as a coach is still goofy. I can't get a free copy to at least a team once a year or something. I have to go out and buy every updated one to ensure that I can read it, to ensure that I follow all the rules. I think that's still really goofy, but I guess the paper isn't free.
I never thought of that.
Cost of doing business. But if you're going to hold me to a standard of a rule that you put in a book that I'm required to buy, it gets a little different there for us.
I could see that.
But no big deal.
Unfortunately, that's not one that I have any control over.
That's right.
I'll put it out to the NFHS and see what they say. Your school should get supplied one, though. I'm pretty sure every school gets supplied one.
Well, maybe they do. I've always had to order them for our staff because we never have them. So
Well, your AD may
I do
have it.
appreciate it. I look forward to Rule 2 through 10. They do get more interesting. Although this is interesting, and when you go down, you know what the rules really are, and like I want to weaponize them. Like I said, I'm from a coach's point of view. Look, I want to make someone take their entire kickoff team off the field because they're wearing wristbands too high.
Yeah.
I absolutely want. It sucks when it happened to us. You got 7 backups go out there at the exact same time, and we know how coaching is. 4 of those had the same kid backing them up, so now it's
Yeah.
7 backups. So
Yeah,
anyway,
you're right.
it's a great initial impression here for Rule 1. Thank you again, Mike, for doing that.
Not a problem. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll be tackling Rule 2. Rule 2 is one of the most important ones for us officials because it's going to divide. I can't speak right now. It's going to fill in the definition. So it's going to define a lot of the jargon that we use, and it helps simplify our rules a lot better by knowing Rule 2. So Rule 2 is definitely one of those ones that preseason I'm going back and I am rereading and making sure that I am up to date on all the lingo and the terms that are being used. So again, so that when I'm communicating with coaches on the sideline, I'm giving them the proper verbiage because I don't want that twisted back onto me that I gave them the wrong information. So
For sure.
Rule 2 is a big one. So Daniel, once again, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. One last time, I forgot to do this in the beginning of the show. Where can people find you at?
Oh, for sure. I am the co-host at the Football Coaching Podcast with Joe Daniel, also at the Coaching 101 Podcast with Kenny Simpson. 2 amazing coaches. I've been great to cut my teeth with those guys, kind of holding my hand and ushering me through the chaos that is high school football. Find me at Chamberlain Football Consulting. I have a website. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. The best place to go is patreon.com/Chamberlain Football Consulting, where you can find tiers that help me help you be a coach. Everything from, hey, just help me redesign my playbook to I need an assistant in the fall without you physically being here, and there's tiers there for everybody. So regardless of your level of ball that you're coaching, I can help out everyone.
Great stuff. Once again, I appreciate you taking the time out. Hit up those websites, follow the other podcasts. They are great shows. I know I definitely listen to them, which is how I got introduced to Daniel in the first place. So once again, Daniel, thank you. And I look forward to rule number 2.
Thank you, sir.